Speaking of the fact that it's all the Republicans, at least all the Republicans who are running for president, you actually compiled a list at Alternet of all the different. And what's least interesting about it? At least they all come up with creative ways to show their hatred towards women, right? At least they're not all saying the exact same thing. They all have their own little twist on it. Sticking with Ben Carson, who we started with, he actually compared brought abortion into the Black Lives Matter movement, right?
Yeah, which, again, he basically said if Black Lives Matter, then why aren't we talking about, the Black lives supposedly lost to abortion? And I want to flag this as an extremely, this is one of the most offensive lines that's been percolating on the anti-choice right for a while. And he didn't come up with this idea that a great gotcha is black women get abortions, therefore the abortions must be racist.
Right.
First of all, again, we must remember that abortion is something women choose. And therefore, when you say that an abortion on a black woman is inherently racist, you are saying that a black woman chose to be racist against herself and her family. What kind of thing is that? What kind of thing is that to say?
Yeah.
The notion that black women are more of a threat to black people, that black women having sex and making their own reproductive, sexual and health decisions are more of a threat to black people than police violence is ridiculous and offensive, and it's the worst kind of blaming black people for racism. There is no doubt that black women have a higher abortion rate than white women. That's because black people on average have less healthcare access than white people. That's the only reason for that. The unintended pregnancy rate is higher because of disparities in healthcare access. That is it. It has nothing to do with black women being bad people or somehow hating themselves or somehow being a threat to their own children. That is a racist argument.
Yeah. Well, let's move on to a couple of the other ones. Who out of the, because again, you documented them all 7,000 Republicans who are running for president right now.
I tried. It kind of got repetitive after a while.
Right. So who are name a couple of the other ones that kind of their arguments kind of stood out to you as particularly malicious or ridiculous?
Well, Scott Walker is particularly malicious and ridiculous at all levels. He's the one to watch, particularly since he's, like Ben Carson, good at kind of saying the most outrageous and cruel things, but kind of playing it like it's not a thing.
Right.
He was saying that he supported a law in Wisconsin that would require women to undergo mandatory ultrasounds in order to get an abortion. Now, a lot of people don't think this is a big deal because they do ultrasounds when you're going to get an abortion anyway, but what they fail to understand is that the doctor is also required to lecture you about what a bad person you are, basically. Even though the doctor doesn't agree that you're a bad person for getting an abortion. The whole point is to guilt trip you with a wand up your vagina. So for men, the equivalent is if you wanted to buy some condoms, you have to have a dildo shoved up your ass while somebody asks, are you sure? Are you really sure? Are you really, really sure that you want to have sex without getting somebody pregnant or getting an STI? Don't you think that, closes you off to intimacy? Can't you feel that dildo up your ass? That's kind of what the intention behind these laws are. And when he was asked about it on a conservative radio show program, he was like, well, it's just this cool thing we're offering women. I'm paraphrasing a little, but he definitely said cool thing. As if women were not allowed to have ultrasounds when they're pregnant, and that only by mandating it were women even going to get them. Now, I cannot assert enough that abortion providers already offer not just ultrasounds, which they have to do, though a much shorter, quicker one just for diagnostic purposes, not the lengthy guilt trip that the Wisconsin law would have required. They already do this, and if you want to look at it, they'll let you.
Right.
So the notion that women are being deprived of anything and that Walker is trying to help them out is beyond ridiculous.
Marco Rubio had a pretty interesting one as well. When he started bringing up farm animals. What exactly did Rubio go about?
So he was on CNN, and it was after the debate, and it almost got lost because of all the like post-debate stuff, and there's so many candidates.
Right.
But Rubio himself decided to highlight it, which is the only way it got mainstream media attention. And I say this as one of the people who drew attention to it. But he was on CNN, and he was the anchor was asking him, like, how can you say that science says life begins at conception? There's no science that says that. That is not a scientific thing.
Right.
Like, and he was like, well, how can you say that it doesn't? It's not a cat, is it? It's not a donkey. It's not going to become a cat or a donkey. I'm, again, paraphrasing, but he definitely said the point of his argument was that because a fertilized human egg cannot grow into a cat or a donkey, we should treat it as the equivalent of a human, like a full-grown human baby, like an actual developed born baby. And, like, I think that should be a self-evidently stupid argument, but he thought it was killer.
Yeah.
I mean, to my mind, the fact that you can't actually look at an embryo and be like, donkey, cat, baby, don't know. Like, should in fact tell us something about, like, the nature of it.
Right.
But he thought for some reason the opposite was true, and he was kind of making a big deal out of this. And what's frustrating about that argument is that the claim, and you actually see a lot of anti-choicers make this argument, and the reason that they do is because there's this functionally a religious argument, but they know that won't fly in the face of the First Amendment. So instead, they try to claim that there's some sort of scientific rationale for why when a sperm meets the egg, something magical, but they won't say magical, something science magic happens, right?
Right.
And actual scientists, no.
Right.
Like, life doesn't begin. Life is continuous. So, you know, the sperm's alive, the egg's alive. Together they're alive. Before they were alive. Like, if your argument is alive plus human DNA equals baby, then my hair is alive, my fingernails are babies, you know. Like, we're all, like, that alive plus human DNA is every cell on your body that's not dead.
Hold on. Did you say your fingernails are babies? Congratulations. I didn't know.
So many babies.
What are their names?
I keep painting my babies. Rubio is a lightweight, and I think that really kind of showed that. I mean, to my mind, that was one of those moments that showed me that, like, we almost kind of hope he gets the Republican nomination because Clinton will just wipe the floor with that lightweight.